Hey there, guys. So I want to thank you for taking the time to check out today's live stream as always. So, of course, this is going to be the first one for the new year. And I do want to thank you guys for all the support that you've given me as it relates to my online coaching business. I am continuing to, make new changes as we move forward into the new year. And I do want to mention, of course, before I get started, my website, which is bponlinefitness.com. I keep it updated every week. I have a blog post that's on there every week. I also have an email newsletter that you can sign up that I send out each Monday. And I do have a ton of information on there related to online coaching. There's information on sort of the structure of online coaching. And of course, we can schedule a call if you're interested in learning more and understanding more of how online coaching works, because I know that it can be considered a more new form of personal fitness training. So definitely reach out if you have any questions about that. But again, guys, you can check that out. There's a ton of information on there. I do have the link. I'll have it at the end of this stream to where you can see exactly how to put in that link. But again, I keep that website updated pretty often. And I also, too, I do want to mention that when you do sign up for the email newsletter or the email list itself, I do send out information on promotions. I also send out information on any live streams that I do, as well as any new blog posts that I put on the website. Again, a lot of that, all of that pretty much is free to access. So definitely check that out. But with all that being said, guys, let's go ahead and discuss today's topic, which is on new fitness trends. Now, this is a very unique topic. I've not really discussed the topic in sort of this type of um, particular, subject, but I felt like this would be an appropriate subject for today, especially as we're starting January and the new year. So we're going to be discussing various different things, and mainly the topics that I'm going to be discussing are four primary topics, which is going to be over hybrid training, wearable fitness tech, immersive fitness experiences, and group fitness reimagined. So this is like upcoming trends, basically, is what I'm discussing here today on various aspects of fitness. So again, this is a very unique topic, but I felt like it was an appropriate topic to talk about and sort of give you an idea on some of the changes that are happening as it relates to the realm of fitness in itself. So, the first point I want to discuss is hybrid training. So, this is something new that's sort of arising, and basically, what hybrid training is it blends two or more types of exercises into a single session. So, for example, strength and cardio, combining weightlifting with high intensity interval training for fat burning and muscle building benefits, yoga and HIIT training, which is starting with general yoga exercises, followed by quick bursts of intense exercises to boost metabolism. Pilates and functional movement, enhancing core strength and mobility through exercises that mimic everyday movements. So, by incorporating multiple fitness modalities, hybrid training ensures you target different muscle groups and systems in one efficient workout. So basically, the way hybrid training works is it's more so combining different training methods together. And I think this can be a very effective thing to do, especially if you're somebody who has a very busy schedule. Combining these methods together can be a great option, especially when we're talking about like strength and cardio. That's a great option to combine together because those both can complement each other. Of course, you do need to keep in mind when you're focusing on any type of training method that you do need to have the proper balance between what you're wanting to focus on, like based on your particular goals, because that's going to change depending on, the goals that you set out for. So keep in mind that your goals have to be, you have to align this with your goals. And for example, another method, like when we're talking about HIIT training can be a very intense method of exercise, and it's not for everybody. So just keep in mind the various limitations you may have, as well as, again, the goals that you're wanting to focus on. But in summary, basically what hybrid training is just combining two more types of exercise training methods in a single session rather than separating it out. Basically, focusing primarily on one type of training method for that particular day. So that's basically what the difference is when we're talking about hybrid training. So, wearable fitness tech is the next topic that I want to discuss. And this is, of course, a topic that has really, I guess, grown in popularity over the years and has become more, more, I guess, just again, a popular sort of use because when it comes to like smartwatches and, things like Fitbits, these types of things have become very popular because you're keeping a lot of health data, with you. And it just makes it easier to track a lot of your metrics versus like if you are having to track stuff individually. So, of course, this stuff is continuing to grow and evolve, like when we're talking about Apple Watch as well. So, keep in mind that, again, depending on your type of, training, you don't necessarily have to have anything related to like having a smartwatch in itself to, have a good workout routine. It's not necessary. If it's something that, if you're really serious about your exercise routine and you're wanting to really, keep track of more metrics, then of course a smartwatch or just a fitness band itself is going to be a great option. Um, so again, for example, some of the smartwatches, of course, are Apple Watch, Garmin, Fitbit. There are also fitness bands, which are a little bit different than just the smartwatches themselves. They're a little bit slimmer and they're more focused on tracking metrics, whereas when we're talking about a smartwatch, you have a bunch of various different things. Of course, you have the watch itself. You have, different apps that you can use on the watch, making phone calls, sending messages, things of that nature. So the difference in a smartwatch and a fitness band, of course, is that the fitness band is focused primarily on tracking metrics. And then your smartwatch is going to do more. Of course, you can still track metrics, but it's going to do more than what a fitness band would do. There's also smart rings, which is the Aura ring. Again, this stuff is a little bit new. You also have fitness sort of being integrated into VR, which is in Real, and then MetaQuest Pro. There's also different things that, of course, come with these various different types of fitness tech, such as real-time tracking, heart rate, steps, sleep calories, and more. So again, I use an Apple Watch. I've used a Fitbit too. They're both great, different, ways to track your fitness metrics. Um, Keep in mind too that when we're talking about devices like these, that sometimes they can be inaccurate with tracking, especially with certain exercises. For example, I usually separate my workouts and track them in different ways. So usually whenever I'm tracking workouts, of course, mostly I'm tracking the traditional strength training. And of course, it'll time me on how long I've been doing the exercise, and it keeps track of my heart rate, how many calories I've burned in that session. But for example, where I've seen an inaccuracy is, for example, if you're doing a stair stepper. A lot of times with the stair stepper type exercises, and it's specific exercises where the watch doesn't really detect proper movement. So when you're doing a stair stepper exercise, because of the nature of the exercise, even though your heart rate is going up and it's detecting your heart rate going up, a lot of times it won't really say that you're taking any steps, or it'll just not really track your movement as much as, say, if you're doing something like a treadmill because you're moving a little bit more with the treadmill, whereas on a stair stepper, it just doesn't know how to properly detect the movement you're making because you're moving in a slower pace than, for example, like a treadmill. And just the movement itself, it just can't detect that. A lot of times, the watches usually detect basically arm movement and things like that, and that's somewhat how it determines whether you're taking steps or not. So keep in mind that with specific exercises, it can kind of be, touch and go depending on if the watch detects what you're doing properly. So just keep that in mind, even though, again, like I mentioned, when you're on a stair stepper, your heart rate's going to go up. And again, even though it detects that your heart rate's going up, it doesn't really detect as much of the steps that you're taking. And a lot of that has to do with your movement and your arms and things of that nature. So just keep that in mind as well, that there's a little bit of discrepancy with that. Other advanced metrics, of course, is VO2 max, SpO2, and stress levels. I know that Apple Watch used to have the blood oxygen tracking as well. They've added some new stuff too here recently, like vitals and things like that, with some of the new Watch OS updates. So there's new stuff always coming out. Another thing too is even like with my training that I do, because I use an application called Trainerize. And with this application, is my clients can actually use their Apple Watch or Fitbit and have it integrated into their training program so they can track their metrics a little bit more efficiently. So I know this is outside of sort of what the topic I'm talking about, but it sort of relates. But that's something that I actually do myself with my training is that my clients have that access as well if they do have, those devices. So again, this is stuff that's just constantly evolving and changing. There's also ways where you can go into, of course, Google, Fitbit, Apple Health, specific apps that sort of track those specific, metrics. You can go into there and it'll, give you detailed information on what your watch is tracking. And then, of course, you've got AI things that are, sort of becoming more popular and more relevant or prevalent, I should say. So there's just a lot of things that are changing when it comes to, the way that we're tracking steps and the way that we track different various activities and exercise. So immersive fitness experiences, and this is again, this is a new sort of top of fitness experience, basically, of things related to VR, AR, which is augmented reality. So many different things that are coming up when it comes to virtual reality. And there's, again, this is not something that's necessary for everybody, of course, but keep in mind that there's many new things coming up to where it's making fitness a little bit more accessible to a lot of different people, and it makes it a little bit more fun to engage in. And I think that's where virtual reality sort of comes in. So again, with VR, you have the VR headsets where it allows you to explore an environment, with guided workouts. You can perform guided workouts through VR. There's different programs that offer this. I've used VR before. Of course, I'm somebody who games. So, outside of just the gaming aspect of things, I can see where virtual reality can play a key role in fitness and being able to move more. I think it's a great option. Like it sort of reminds me in a way the way that the Nintendo Wii was when it came out, where everybody was getting more active with that. Of course, that trend kind of went away, and trends happen, they come and go. But that's where I feel like, virtual reality, it kind of feels like that type of thing. I don't know if it's going to evolve even more, but I do think it's a great way to get more active in a different form and to do it, at home as well. Augmented reality is a little bit different. So it can be somewhat difficult to sort of understand what augmented reality is. Basically, the way AR works is a lot of times it's used through a camera or it's used through, maybe like a lens or something to that effect. So basically, AR is like giving you different things that you can do. Like there's it's really hard to explain how AR works. It's sort of the same way as VR, except that you're looking at stuff in through a camera that's not there in reality. So that's kind of how you describe augmented reality, is just putting different obstacles in the camera itself. So like for example, Pokemon Go, if you've used that, that's basically augmented reality, is where it's putting stuff, even though there's stuff in front of you, when you're pointing your camera at something, it's not necessarily in front of you. That's basically what that augmented reality is. There's also themed environments. Studios use projection mapping, music, and lighting to create atmospheric setting. Again, like cycle, spin cycle studios, things like that. There's different methods that are used. You have interactive equipment, like we're talking about, like Peloton and things like that. Smart treadmills, bikes, rowers, sync with visuals and adjust resistance based on the terrain shown on screen. At my gym, there's actually it's basically like the stationary bike, and you can actually change the environment of where you're wanting to bike at, and it sort of mimics that specific environment. So stuff like that, again, this new stuff that's coming out, that's, just interactive equipment and things of that nature. It was something to be aware of. Again, this is really isn't, some of these methods and experiences are not for everybody, of course, but it does make it accessible for a lot of different populations to really, get into fitness in various different ways outside of just the normal gym experience. So, group fitness is another, of course, it's not really a new trend. Of course, group fitness has been around, but has grown in various different ways, especially like when we're talking about the way that, how we're doing Zoom calls and just the virtual, calling and things of that nature. It's just become more accessible to do like a group class. Like you wouldn't have to necessarily go somewhere to do that. So that kind of relates in the same way as like when we're talking about, you know, VR in virtual reality and things of that nature, and just those different types of methods. It just makes it accessible. But there's various ways that group training, not only virtual, but of course different classes that are done now. So there can be a mix of in-person and virtual options, offering flexibility and convenience for participants. Again, hybrid classes where you don't have to show up somewhere each time, and then where you can show up to a specific class. Wearables and smart tech allow tailored workouts within a group setting. I know that there are, I know that Apple has Apple Fitness, and it sort of mimics a group sort of fitness training environment when you use that application, and you can use it as like guided workouts. So that sort of mimics that group training sort of environment. Gamification of, group fitness, leaderboards, challenges, and rewards to keep participants motivated and engaged. I actually can do that with my clients with Trainerize. Again, Trainerize is how I assign workouts to my clients, and there's different tools that I'm able to use to help to improve engagement with my clients. And so I'm able to make like specific challenges, like step challenges, and things of that nature that my clients can participate in when I schedule, set up a specific time frame for them to do those. So that's a great way to, sort of create engagement, creates a group environment. Inclusive programs provided for all fitness levels, ages, and abilities, ensuring everyone's welcome. Having training methods where many different types of people can, be in an environment where they're comfortable in, activities and events that foster connection and accountability among participants. Keep in mind that group training, again, is not for everybody. It's, tailored to specific people. The way that I see group training and somebody that may benefit from group training is somebody who, wants to have that social aspect and, have a little bit more accountability in their routine. And that's who I would see that that group training is more geared towards. So again, there's so many different things that are, evolving when it comes to the realm of fitness and just how much, things are changing when it comes to that and just giving more access outside of the gym environment to anybody who's wanting to get involved with fitness itself. So thank you guys for taking the time to check this live stream out. I hope that you found it helpful and valuable, and I hope that it gives you a little bit of insight on some of the new things that are coming as it relates to fitness. Again, keep in mind that this is not, these training methods, again, are not for everybody, and some of this stuff can, it can come and go. But these are sort of the new things that are happening, and I just wanted to share that. I feel like it was a pretty timely topic to talk about, especially with the new year. So before I do close this out, guys, of course, I do have my information on here as far as my email and phone number. And I do have my website, which is bponlinefitness.com here on screen. So that's how you get to my website. And just as I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, how you can access various things related to information on online coaching, signing to, signing up to the email list, as well as checking out my fitness blog. And one thing I do want to mention, before I close this out again, is that I will have another live stream next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And in this next live stream, I am actually going to be talking about hydration and talking about different ways to stay hydrated outside of just drinking water and sort of discussing various hydration hacks, I guess you could say. So that's when what I'm going to be discussing in the next live stream. But thank you guys once again for taking the time to check this out. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. This will be uploaded to YouTube, of course. I do archive all of my live streams there so that anybody can watch them at their own time. But thank you guys once again, and I hope you have a happy new year. And I will see you guys in the next live stream next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So thank you guys.